Hi everyone. In the last video, we have discussed about the approach to give a solution for a scenario. For a scenario, right? This is what we have discussed by taking one business scenario. I have provided the link in this video description. It is useful scenario. Go through that. Okay. So today we will see where do we fail in Salesforce interview. Whatever the interviews we attend, where do we fail in Salesforce interviews, right? So let's go ahead and understand what are the key points that we have to remember during the interview. So let me open the paint. Okay. So where do we fail in Salesforce interviews? The first thing is we will see the factors affecting the interview. What are the different factors affecting the interview? Okay. So the first thing which we will see is the first one is our thought process. Our thought process. What is our thought process? Right? And thought process is divided into the four different types. Thought process is divided into the four different types. Thought process is divided into the four different types. The first one is approach. What is our approach? And then coding and testing. And the final thing is that very important, this is counter questions. Counter questions. Counter questions. So what is the thought process? What is this mean? Thought process means what exactly? So thought process basically interviewer checks during the interviewer, during your interview. Okay. The main focus of interviewer is interviewer checks whether your thought process is correct or wrong. Whether your thought process, whatever the scenario it could be. Okay, whatever the scenario it could be. How is your thought process? Whether it is a correct thought process or wrong. So that's what the interviewer checks. Let me update this. Interviewer checks whether your thought process is correct or wrong, right? And next, what is the approach? First of all, like what do we understand? What is the meaning of approach? Approach is nothing but it's functional skills plus the logical thinking. Functional skills plus logical thinking. The combination of your functional skills and logical thinking is called as a approach. So interviewer focus is interviewer focus is on interviewer focus is on the approach and understand the functional skills and logical thinking. They look at your functional skills, how good you are at functional and how good you are at logical thinking, right? And coming to coding, coding is the combination of your coding skills plus the logical thinking. Coding plus the logical thinking. And testing is purely into the functional skills. That means if we know our functional skills, then only we can identify different scenarios for testing. And the next one is counter questions. Counter questions are combination of technical skills and communication skills. This is very important. Communication skills. Right? So these are the two different thought process we have. Any interview you go, this is how the interview checks. What is my thought process? What is my approach? And what is my coding level? And what is my testing? And based on that counter questions. So thought process starts working when we listen or see the questions or business requirement. When we see the business requirement, that's how our thought process begins it. As soon as I see any requirement, could be a business requirement, could be a task, or could be question, right? As soon as I see the requirement, my thought process begins. And it goes based on the skills, knowledge level, and logical thinking. To work in Salesforce, functional knowledge is most important along with the technical and communication skills. If you have to go good in career in Salesforce, one should have a good functional skills, technical skills, logical thinking skills, communication skills, right? In entire this thought process, if you see, we have to be good in functional skills, logical skills, technical skills, and communication skills. These four we have to focus on. Interviewer estimate the person with the different level of knowledge level. So during this process, what happens is the interview also focus on he estimates it. Interviewer estimates the person with the different knowledge level. What are the different knowledge levels we have? We have beginner, right? And then we have intermediate, and we have advanced. level knowledge, beginner level knowledge, intermediate level knowledge, and advanced level, right? So let's draw the picture and let's understand what is the beginner level knowledge and intermediate and advanced level. So the knowledge level also interviewer is going to focus on, right? How much do I know? Beginner, intermediate, advanced, right? So based on the person thought process, the interviewer can understand and guess knowledge level of a person within 15 minutes of the interview. We have a 1 hour. Usually the interviews will be 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Max it can go to the 1 hour, right? But within the 15 minutes, person interviewer can identify the person, the level of knowledge within 15 minutes. To clear any interview, to clear an interview, need to answer the 70% of interview questions and have good communication skills. You need not to be 100%. You need not to be 100%. All five, if they ask 5 questions, answering all 5 questions is not important. If you don't know anything in the interview, just say frankly, I do not know, I have not worked on it, and you have not heard anything. If you are not clear about that particular functionality, say directly that you don't know that functionality, right? Try to answer 70% correct answers. Give the correct answers of 70%. And you should be having the good communication skills. Right? So communication skills is very important at whatever the level and whatever the stage you are in. So communications has to be clear, crystal communication. Whatever you wanted to say it in right way. The communication has to be gone in properly. Right. So contact us if you have any questions. Contact us. The number 9196246061. Contact us this number. And subscribe our channel Swapna Salesforce. If you have finished Salesforce training and searching for a jobs, we will guide and help you. You can contact this number. Once again, I'm repeating the contact number +91 9662460161. Please subscribe our channel. We post videos to help Salesforce learner and job seekers. You can learn Salesforce from scratch with our videos. Okay, back to the knowledge level, right? We were discussing about knowledge level, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. What is the beginner level knowledge person thought process? What is their thought process? Beginner level knowledge thought process is, it's like they attended the training, they learned the training, they learned Salesforce. Beginners learned Salesforce, but could not able to connect it based on the business requirement. They just learn the Salesforce, but do not have a clarity. They do not have clarity. They just learned it. Cannot link the business scenario with the technical or with the functional. Cannot link it. They know the Salesforce. That's it. What about intermediate level knowledge person thought process? Intermediate level is learn the Salesforce. They learn Salesforce and done good number of hands-on, might be in trial head or might be in the Salesforce project, or might have experience in handling Salesforce projects, right? They are the intermediate. Then what about the advanced? Advanced is they have learned just a second, it's gone. Learn Salesforce plus good number of hands-on, hands-on could be on the trial head or hands-on or good experience in Salesforce Real-Time project. Right? And coming to the advanced, advanced is learn the Salesforce plus done good number of hands-on experience okay, in Salesforce real-time projects. So beginner is just learn the Salesforce. They cannot link. If I give the business requirement to them, they cannot link to the functional or technical skills. Coming to the intermediate, if I give the business requirement to the intermediate, they have a hands-on experience. Okay. They, as soon as I give the business requirement to them, they start thinking on it, how to implement it. Whether should I go with the batch, whether should I go with the trigger, whether I should go with the flows, lightning flows, or maybe it is possible that I can fix it using the configuration instead of going with the customization. They think, but if they know, then only they can think on that. Whatever they know the skills, only that limit they can think. But coming to the advanced, advanced is the level of experience is they think everything. Okay, which way is the best way? I have multiple options, but which way should I go with? And also They think about the future coming requirements in case if there are anything that comes in the future. Can this technical whatever I'm implementing, will this be able to support tomorrow if something comes up? And writing the code in the generic way and implementing the logic in generic so that whoever wants they can use it, and keep the technical the program in a such a way that tomorrow if something comes up they can include in this program, so it's not going to harm anybody. So they think all other directions including the future requirements also. They ask most questions to the business, more questions to the business as soon as they give the requirement, right? So these are the level of understanding. So in the interview, based on the business requirement, the first thing interviewer is going to check what is my level of thinking, what is my knowledge level. Is it a beginner level? Still, I'm talking about validation, doing trigger, bachelor's. Is that so? Or does he talk in terms of like a good experienced person? As soon as the business requirement comes, giving the highest high requirement, understanding the high level requirement, micro level, asking more questions to the interviewer, like this is what, in a nice way. Okay, so explain the thought process, then start writing the code. So that way, what will happen? Your communication skills will be reviewed, and your thought process will be reviewed, and your coding skills will be reviewed, and your testing skills also will be reviewed. Now let's see how can we do that in order to improve my knowledge level thinking. How can I improve? Right now I'm in a beginner. How can I improve my knowledge level? What all should I need to do? Right? Everything begin like if you wanted to do, you have to have a good experience. Okay. Now let's go ahead and see what is the approach. How can I do that approach? How can I start thinking on that approach? How to improve my approach? So there are 5 steps in the approach. Okay, there are 5 steps are there in the approach. So let's Control X. We okay. So coming to the approach. Approach is it's a 5 steps to we have. Okay. When we see the problem, how do we approach? In the approach, functional skills and logical thinking of a person can be estimated. So need to go with a good approach and prove to interviewer that I have good logical thinking. How can you prove that you have a good logical thinking? So the first thing you have to do is understanding the business requirement. Converting the questions into business requirement to the solution. Understanding the requirement and converting the requirement into the solution. It has to very quickly run through your mind. So how can you convert the requirement or questions to the solution? There are 5 steps we have. Right? So first one is understanding the question business requirement at high level. Understand at the high level. Okay. High level is nothing but, for example, as soon as the operator lead is received from the third party system, and lead goes to the qualified. I wanted to convert the lead to the opportunity. That is a high level requirement, is converting the lead to the opportunity. Read and understand the questions or business requirement word by word and write down, understand it at the high level. Sometimes it is confusing for us also when we receive the first time the requirement. If you read it for the first time, you do not understand. Read it carefully, word by word, and write down, split that requirement into the pieces, and write down that into the your understanding at the high level. And the next one is micro level understanding. Micro level understanding. Second one is micro level understanding. Micro level understanding is write down the requirement in detail. In detail, in a sense, for example, like I said, lead converting to the opportunity. That is at the high level, right? So high level, we are clear. High level, we are clear. But micro level thing is that what is the lead stage process? What are the different steps we have in the lead, right? And when it should convert into the opportunity. And once it is converted to the opportunity, what should we do on the lead level? Right? Does the lead gets assigned to anybody? Is there any email sent to anybody as soon as the lead comes into the Salesforce? And when the lead is created for the first time, what is the stage? And when it will go to qualified? And is there any leads that cannot convert it to the opportunity? So these are all questions you have to write down in the micro level. Put everything, whatever the questions that comes to your mind, put all the questions into micro level. Get it clarified, that micro level questions or business requirement. And the next one is we have flow diagram. Draw the flow. Draw the flow chart. Draw flow chart in piece of paper or use Paint or any other tool if you know about it. Draw.io, Google G Drive, or in case if you know any other tool, use that. If you do not have a flexibility to use that, start drawing the flow in your mind. So that what will happen, you will get complete understanding about the questions business requirement. You will get clarity. Okay, from here it goes here. If I do not have the value, then what should happen? Everything you will be drawing into the flow. So that flow chart is very important. Once you are clear during the flow chart only, you will understand what are the different test scenarios that can come up, right? So those test scenarios, again, note it down. Test scenarios or test conditions. Test conditions or test scenarios. Right? So note down all the test, all the possible scenarios. So how you will note down all the possible scenarios? Like you write down, for example, okay. So let's take it. Divide the test conditions into 3 parts. Okay. What is my scenario? What is my scenario in test scenario? And what are the inputs that are required in order to test the scenario? What are the inputs that are required in order to test the scenario? And what is my output? What I am expecting in this test scenario? So write down these steps so that we will be clear what to test, how to test, what are the different possible scenarios that can come. Okay, you will know this test scenario when you know the functional skills and when you know the logical thinking. Then only you can able to write down the test scenarios. And the last one is write down the main blocks. Do not write the program. Do not write the program yet. Just write down how many methods do I need in order to implement this particular program. That is a main block. How many methods do I need it? What are the variables do I need to declare it? Class name, method name, functional and technical objects to be used in this program. What are the objects that can be used? Write down those. We keep it ready. That is something like a skeleton structure, I can say. It's kind of a skeleton structure, like what is the class? Is the class is with sharing or without sharing? And does this class should have a global or public or private? And what are the methods is it required in order to implement this business requirement? And during this method, like what are the objects I need to call, how many softwares do I need to write it, and what are the variables that I need to declare it? Is it a public variable, private variable, or is it like a flags or integer? What are the details I needed? Do I need to define any collection? So write all those things. Could be a in the descending order or ascending order. Don't worry about that. Okay, whatever comes in your mind, like first it came like methods. I needed three methods. Write three methods. Then I need four variables. Write it in four variables. Don't worry about the order, which order you are doing in the main block. Once you get the clarity, then order it. Class, variable, method one, method two, method three. Inside the method one, I need this soccer query. I need this object details. So once you get all the steps noted down, then you can order that. Right? So these 5 steps are very important for the approach. Okay. And coming to the coding. Now once we are clear with the main blocks, high level requirement, micro level requirement, draw the flow chart. What are the different scenarios that I can test this logic? What are the main blocks that I needed? What is the class, method, object? What are the object? What is the variables? What is the soccer queries that I needed? Is it a rest or not? Write everything. So now once we are clear with the approach, then go with the coding. Start opening and closing blocks. So coding also you don't need to write everything at one shot. Okay, just put a skeleton structure. Like start with some class name. Okay, start with some class name and open. Okay, and then close it. This is what. Okay, I have started with this. And what are the blocks are required? Just write the blocks. Method one. Okay, and open close. Do not write any logic. And I also need method two. So give a structure to that. Give a structure to that. Or I need a wrapper method. Write a wrapper method. Give a structure to that. Right? Create a structure of the skeleton structure of the your approach. And then based on the flow, we have a here flow chart, right? Based on the flow, start writing the your logic. It will be very easy when once you have the flow chart in front of you. What logic do I need to include it? How many if conditions? How many for loop? It will be very clear. Start writing the code. Okay, and type the codes between the blocks. Like whatever the code you are thinking in the method one, method two, wrapper method. What are the methods you have? What is the logic that needs to be fit in this method? Write only that particular logic. Okay, so once we are done with the coding part, next process is testing. Next process is testing. Now testing is once we are clear with the approach and once we know what to write in the coding, testing is it's easy. What are the different scenarios that I need to test it? Right? For Salesforce, whenever we are writing the Apex class, for every Apex class and for every method inside the class, we have to write a test method, positive test method, negative test method. So that time we will be getting a clarity that, okay, what are the positive scenarios, what are the negative scenarios. So during the test class writing, test classes also, we will be very clear. So test the code with the different scenarios written in the whatever written in the approach. If anything is not working as per the scenario, then we have to go ahead and verify our code. Then think, then look at if your code is perfectly fine, then look for the micro level requirement, what is the flow chart and what is the test conditions. Maybe somewhere I missed it, that's the reason my testing is not working. So think on that direction. Now, once the testing is done, then the next one is counter questions. Counter questions is very, very important because from the counter question itself, he is going to ask, like he is going, whatever we have done so far, whatever we have done so far, from that only we are going to get the counter questions. From that only we are going to get the counter questions, right? Based on our approach, based on coding, based on the testing scenarios, all the scenarios, the counter questions are like an interviewer asks the questions throughout the interview. Okay, during entire the process, they are going to ask you the counter questions. Like if you are doing in this approach, why can't you go with the different approach? They might give you some which interviewer know the approach. They will tell you that how about this approach? What is the difference between the what you are thinking on the approach, what I have given the approach? What is the difference between this? And which one do you think? Which approach is the good one? The one which you are thinking, the one which I gave. So they might ask a different counter questions, like technical questions related to the scenarios, task, business requirement, assignment, questions on the thought process and approach, right? Questions on the coding or and the testing. Like ideally, if our interview lasts for 45 minutes means like you have crossed the 45 minutes. That means you are good to go. So every interview, make sure that you are answering and you have reached like you are with the interviewer from last 45 minutes and your communications are still going on, your discussions are still going on, that means you are good to go, right? So that's how our interview process is. Okay, any interview wherever we go, this is what we have to apply. This is what we have to apply, the thought process. Let's subscribe my channel for next video, what to do after completing the interview. Okay, so thank you so much. Bye bye.